Soundtrack Talk, my podcast where I talk about games, soundtrack, and music. Today, we're going to be talking about cyberpunk with my friend. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, welcome, listener. My name is João. You can call me John, and I am a mechanical engineering student from Portugal.
Very cool. What's your
Very
experience with
cool.
cyberpunk?
Uh,
Because
I've
I
around
haven't
like
played it.
I have around like 70 hours, and I have to say it has been quite a ride. I've enjoyed most of it,
Mm.
and it's a really great game. If you have a good computer, I definitely recommend you check it out. Yes.
That's a big caveat there. If you have a good computer,
Oh, it is a bit
it's a bit of a chonky game. So I haven't actually played the game, but I hear from you that the music is very good. But since I don't know anything that happens in the game, would you like to give a quick overview of the story, how the game is played?
Yes, there's some important things I need to explain first. A little bit of spoiler warning. I will not be giving out like big spoilers, but if you want to like play the game by yourself, I highly recommend you do first. But nonetheless, here we go.
Let's go.
So the setting of this game happens in a new United States of America, supposedly in the year 2077, in a very dystopian, cyberpunky city, which is called Night City.
Hence the name, right? Cyberpunk.
Yes. Exactly. And the name even has 2077, so.
Makes sense.
This city is controlled by not only political corruption, but also by other corporations and gangs, like the Arasaka Mega Corporation, which is a worldwide mega corporation dealing with corporate security, banking, manufacturing. This is a very important corporation for this specific podcast episode. Please stick with us. And it's one of the most influential megacorps in this world, which has developed a dark reputation for covering its tracks with assassins, lawyers, and a little trivia, has alleged connection of the Yakuza.
Whoa, that's pretty intense.
So, people in Night City, which are like people that live amongst high-rise buildings filled with neon lights and advertisements everywhere. These people have cool-looking hair, a bunch of augments, like optics for eyes, and then like robotic arms or legs, stuff like that. And unfortunately, most of them are living in poverty because of this control of mega corporations and corrupt politicians. And since they're living in poverty, most of them are turning into criminals to keep them alive, just like mercenaries. It's literally mercenary work. And this is where you, the player, comes in. You play as V. V is a highly customizable character that you get to make it yourself, and V is a mercenary. So you, V, and your partner Jackie Wells go out into an adventure to, well, be the most infamous mercenaries in Night City, which is their biggest dream, to become legend. And someone by the name of Dexter Deshawn comes to Jackie with a big heist proposition. A heist that has V kind of in a weird place. So they do the prep work, they meet new people, they get new equipment. The big day run, they begin their heist. What is this heist? This heist is about stealing one special relic, one special item from the Arasaka Corporation. They head into a place called Konpeki Plaza, which is one of the biggest buildings for Arasaka. So they head into Konpeki Plaza. They manage to get in stealthily, and they go up the stories until they reach their destination. Their destination being the CEO's son quarters. What they're looking for is a briefcase with the relic in it. So they secured the relic. They started thinking of getting out, but something very unexpected happened. Apparently, the CEO's son, which is called Yorinobu, and his father actually meet in his quarters. So V and Jackie hide, and they see something very, very unfortunate. Yorinobu kills his father for the corporation itself because he wants to be CEO.
What a turn of events.
Yeah. So the heist goes wrong without being their fault. So Yorinobu calls in security and puts the whole building in lockdown and one big thing. And V and Jackie decide to leave through a window which was opened. They started sneaking their way out, but they're noticed by a ship, like a little carrier. and making them like the wanted guys. Yorinobu's clearly gonna frame like V, the player, and Jackie because of what happened, and they are forced to jump, but luckily they hit a slope of glass that manages them to get on the ground floor relatively safely. Once they reach the floor, the ground, they actually black out for a little second. Once you wake up, you see Jackie a little wounded, gravely wounded, and you look at the briefcase, and unfortunately it is losing the integrity of the relic. So Jackie has a great idea to open the briefcase and check the relic. The relic was a biochip. A biochip is an object that you can put in your head socket because technology can be connected to your brain in this universe, which is awesome.
That's really advanced.
I'd love to see that in real life. No, not gonna lie. So V and Jackie head to their designated getaway driver. They escape relatively free without. Unfortunately, Jackie dies on the ride back. Yes. Oh, poor Jackie.
Oh no.
And so Jackie, before its last breath, gives relic to V, and so V puts in his head socket. Once arrived at a specific destination, V goes to talk to Dexter Deshawn, which was the man who organized this whole heist, to inform that unfortunately it went wrong. But apparently this was so big, the assassination of the CEO was so big that it was all over the news. Of course, a corporation like Arasaka being so influential has to be everywhere. So after a heated conversation, Dr. Deshawn puts a bullet in V's head. This finishing chapter 1.
Whew.
Yes, very, very heavy stuff.
That's quite intense.
But it's not over. It's not over yet. What the player experiences now is visions of another person. Strangely, there is a mirror right to your left. The player turns the camera and they see a man, a bearded man, kind of like Keanu Reeves. Yes, it is actually Keanu Reeves. You're playing now as Johnny Silverhand, one of the most infamous rocker boys of Night City, and a big terrorist. Terrorist against Arasaka, that is. So you get these visions, and you get these visions of Johnny Silverhand, like on a concert and actually like talking to his bandmates. You get to see what actual character he is. You get to understand what happened, why he died, and stuff like that. But why though? And I'll get to that in a second. After a while, you wake up again. V wakes up again. Strangely enough, you find yourself in a trash dump. Of course, you're not like on your full senses, but you're alive. Turns out that the relic that you had in your head healed your brain, but that is something very strange to happen. It is apparently an engram of Johnny Silverhand's consciousness.
Whoa.
This is where the things get interesting. So
as if like they weren't already interesting.
This is like the beginning of chapter 2, and basically this whole story goes until the end of the game. Unfortunately, the way that the relic healed V's brain was more of an overwrite of V's brain, V's consciousness, instead of actually healing. So from that point, it's all downhill because the mental and physical integrity of V begins to deteriorate because of the specific override. And V's challenges and basically the whole story is about how to find a way to remove the relics safely for both, if there's a chance to keep either V or Johnny or both alive at the end. And this is the overview of the story. I highly recommend you play the game. Seriously, it's amazing.
Wow, that's quite a hefty story.
Indeed.
So most of the gameplay traversing through Night City, completing quests and stuff to try and get both the chip and the player alive out of his brain?
Yes. Those are the most important aspects of the main storyline. But then again, you can always like do side quests, get some other things done while on the way.
That's very cool. Is it an open world game?
Yes. It's
Oh, that's very
it's a
cool.
first person game. There's a lot of combat with weapons and with fire weapons and melee weapons. Then there's
Hmm.
like some other quests you just have to speak with other people. There's a bunch of world discovery you can do. It's a very full-edged game, really.
Yes, it does sound like there's a lot more content than I thought there would be, because I thought it was a like straight story game, like a linear story game. But I mean,
There,
yeah. So did you want to speak about the music
yes,
in a specific area? I believe you have something to say.
yes. As a segue to this whole first chapter, second chapter, story explanation, there is a very big moment in terms of choices, which is one of these. Fuck. So throughout the game, you'll have like these very important decisions, and the music. What makes them so important is not only the setting, but also the music, because not only a simple ominous music can do it, because this game makes a really good song to really back this feeling out, this feeling of important decision, this feeling of the importance of the situation and how grave it is. For example, at the end, like your final decision, there's a song called "Been Good to Know Ya" by one of the game's composers. Sorry, I can't pronounce. I'm so
It's
sorry.
fine.
It has a very ominous feel to it. But then when you actually make the decision, it prompts the song to start like amping up. When you're seeing like a bunch of flashing lights and seeing your surroundings change, you see like the song amps up for a violin, I believe, which gives a really Japanese vibe to it. And this Japanese vibe reflects on Arasaka because of what
Oh.
what it had done to you. Because in Night City, no one's really a good guy. And it's really just a feeling that you actually understand when you experience it. Because once you're immersed in the story, you get to know the characters, you get to know what happens. To hear this great soundtrack while things are going really badly, it's just awesome.
So in the final decision where the music amps up, obviously I'm guessing the final decision is a major spoiler, so I don't want to I don't want to make you reveal the sort of main thing at the end of the story, but
There are many actually.
many
Some-
important decisions.
This is a multi-ending story,
Oh,
depending on your in-game decisions throughout the whole game, which is awesome.
I love games that have so many different endings to explore, especially if it's like an open world game, like you said, like it's not just a linear story and you pick one path or the other.
Hmm.
That's very interesting. Maybe I should play this game.
Hell yeah. Okay, so this is just a small spoiler. I'm not gonna say why it happened. I'm just gonna say what it is. It's just mild. There's this ominous music. Then you decide on what you want to do, and the music ranks up. And when this music ranks up, you go through this stream of data. There's like a bunch of flashing lights, like abstract forms creating and disappearing again. And then in the credits, it it made me genuinely sad, because there's one song that plays. It's called Never Fade Away, which by the way is a different version to one of the songs that I've mentioned later. It's a very like kind of depressing sound, depressing music, because while the credits are rolling, you see like characters sending you like video messages, like trying to check on you and talk to you, and the state as they speak to you reflects what you did for them in game. This is like super sad because they don't know what happens to you, or whatever ending you choose. It just makes me sad whenever I think about it.
That's the thing, like people underestimate how like emotional just listening to the music of a game can make you feel. Like obviously it's well known in film that that's a thing, that like strong emotions are conveyed in the music, and people may just hear the soundtrack and think of, wow, like, oh, I remember when I watched this, oh, I was so sad. But I don't know, I feel like still, even though video games are just a very quickly growing industry, I still feel like it's sort of not looked at in the same way as film, you know?
I understand.
Mm.
Well, for me, it is basically now they're for me the same thing because a movie tries to convey a story and to amplify the feeling of the story with the music. Games right now are no less. Games have a story that to show to the player. For example, in this game, you have many different stories from different characters, and the music is there to amplify this feeling, to either sadness or happiness. It's all very intertwined. Music is always a very big, important factor in story building and world building and so many different things.
Of course, yeah, I agree with you. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the world building?
Yes, in fact, this was a perfect segue. So, the original soundtrack of this game accents the vibe of this world. For example, while you're on the street exploring, you're not listening to any music, it's just background music like advertisements, vehicles, people talking. When you get into combat, there's a little song. If you're playing stealthily, this is kind of like a Payday 2 kind of musical mechanic. When you're playing stealthily, when no one knows about your presence, the song is intense yet calm at the same time. But then when someone notices you and alerts everyone else, now that song ramps up like radically.
That reminds me of the music a little bit in Outlast. Since when you're creeping around and the enemy can't see you, it's sort of silent and tense. But as soon as the enemy sees you, it's the same. It sort of ramps up,
Yeah.
and there's extra big harsh notes and stuff like that.
Yeah, but in this case, it's a cyberpunk genre, and during the combat, it's like something very aggressive. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this game is Peggy 18. It's a very rude game, like it's a very graphic game. It's not for everyone, but it's a really good game, I promise. So yeah, there's like the cyberpunk genre during the combats. There's also something very interesting that I found out about. Once you get in a car or are next to a radio, you can change the radio, and most of those songs are actually real songs by real artists.
Oh, what, like in GTA?
Yes. I don't remember specifically the word for it. I know there's a word for these kinds of music, but I forgot. But there's something really interesting I found. If you go down to a radio station called Moto Rock Radio, which is mostly a rock radio station, you start to hear some songs that are played throughout some story missions. And once you dig into them, there's a band called Samurai, which is the end game band. For example, if you look in Spotify, you search in Samurai, you'll probably find the band as like portrayed in the game, which is something very cool.
That's very cool.
And I looked a bit deeper, and turns out this Samurai actually exists in the real world. It's a hardcore punk band from Sweden, which was founded in 1991.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I fell in love with them through Samurai. Like, I'm a really big rock fan. I love rock music, and I never heard like the guitar sounds that they made and like the synergy between every instrument and lyrics. If you like rock and punk rock, I highly recommend Refused and Samurai to you. Like, you really have to check them out. They're awesome.
So Samurai is the name of the band in the game, and Refused is the actual band in real life.
Yes.
Ah.
It's so cool. It blew my mind when I found about this. Actually, in game, the singer is Johnny Silverhand, the person that is stuck in your head.
Ah, nice.
Yes. What a hopeless rocker boy Keanu Reeves is. So they made a total of 6 songs. They released one not too long ago, and they all have a very deep meaning, have a big link to either V or what any citizen of Night City may be feeling. For example, there's one song, Never Fade Away, which, by the way, the song in the credits is a different version. And also a little bit of a trivia, Never Fade Away is Johnny Silverhand's favorite song. There's a little verse that goes like, we lost everything, we had to pay the price. And this is like a major theme for this song. Then there's also another one called A Like Supreme, which goes, in our willingness to be bought, and in hunger, hunger to buy. Hear the wish of the oppressed to at least get to be oppressed in style. Then the verse 1 comes in. Freedom is slavery, your content sold, your liquid dorsal so profitable. Pay for pastime, pay to unwind, pay to be born, and pay to die. Then the chorus goes, so savage, the new machine, geared to hunt down your privacy. So savage, the new machine, kill it all for a like supreme. Now, these two songs reflect the oppression of the Night City citizen. Of course, people that work in corporations have it like less harsh than other citizens. But yeah, like these songs have a big reflection on the world itself, the day-to-day life of people. Not only these two songs reflect like the oppression that people have, they also like reflect the reason of why people turn into mercenaries, that is, to do like killing, extortion, robbery, partake in multiple factions, really because of this corporate oppression. Not only to fight it, but also because probably the other types of living are not that good compared to a mercenary's life. Also, the other one, like pay for pastime, pay to unwind, reflects on the advertisements and consumerism that they're like subjected to every day.
I have a quick question. So, you know the Refused, the real band, did they write the song specifically for the game, or did they already exist beforehand and the songs already existed beforehand?
I believe they made it for the game itself.
Very cool.
Indeed. They released one not too long ago with the new gen update for the game.
Okay, I'm just asking because songs that were used in Life is Strange were already existing beforehand, and the developers, spent a lot of time sort of cherry picking really good pieces to reflect the mood, which is really cool. But also getting a band to just write the songs is also really cool.
For real.
And then you could just pick a band that produces music that sort of reflects the world, as you said, and sort of make a little tailor-made music soundtrack.
Yeah, especially like a band like Refused, being like old school punk.
Yeah, I listened to some of their music and they really are they do sound exactly like how I expected cyberpunk to feel.
Yeah, when you hear the word cyberpunk, this is probably like punk and heavy stuff. I quite like the aesthetic.
Yeah, it's so like electronic and but the music doesn't sound that electronic. The music just sounds very heavy punky.
So these songs, like Samurai, it's what in-game they're called chrome rock.
Ooh.
Chrome as being in implants and augment, like robotic art stuff. And not everyone in-game is a fan of rock, because there are many other radio stations ranging from hard bass to jazz.
Smooth jazz.
Oh yeah, smooth jazz. Including the more heavier stuff. I only listen to more rock radio because I love rock.
Yeah. So there is something for everyone then. You don't have to be a huge fan of rock.
Indeed. Because mostly this game's focus in terms of like off-story music is rock because of Johnny Silverhand, because of Samurai and stuff like that. But other than that, there's a bunch of other different types of...
Yeah.
Also, this podcast is not sponsored by City Project Red or Cyberpunk 2070. I just want to make that clear. I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of this game. I'm just preaching this game to everyone else.
Yep.
This podcast is not sponsored.
It's not. Just big fan.
big fan.
So a lot of these songs reflect sort of the universe and the world building and how people live. Is there one that's any that are sort of directly related to the character, even though this is just a radio station in a car?
Yes, there actually is. This song is called Black Dog. Also, these 3 songs are by Samurai, which is important.
Yeah.
This song goes like, a blind man lost in the streets. A pattern here I need to see. Keep returning, keep trying to leave. Got a bad feeling that I need to feel. Black dog runs at my side. Down a road, no end in sight. The city sleeps, but in my mind, I got a knot that won't unwind. The chorus goes, tonight is the night that we run. The hunter becomes what he hunts. The escape and the chase that is now won. And then there's a hook in the middle of the song, which is basically black dog in my head, guiding me to the end. Now, this song is a perfect metaphor for V's adventure throughout the game.
In what way?
Being the black dog being Johnny Silverhand, which is guiding V until the end.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm silly. I didn't notice that.
So the blind man lost, being V. Without like a big burden, since the relic, V doesn't really know what to do. So there's Johnny Silverhand to guide. Even though they're not the best advices, you get to choose. You even get to like make your own decisions. But he's there eventually to guide you, to help you remove the relic.
Of course, because he wants to sort of be safely removed as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is he still conscious inside the implant?
Okay, there's something I forgot. I forgot to say about the relic. The relic really contains his consciousness. When it was inserted to V's brain, he was living inside V's head. That is,
Whoa.
He existed, but only inside V's head. The thing is, about Johnny being a terrorist goes back to his days before he was killed, because he blew up like an Arasaka tower, killing like thousands as an act against Arasaka. And he got captured by Arasaka, and he was confronted by the CEO himself. You know, the one who died because of Yorinobu, the CEO, his own son. Johnny was inserted in a machine called Soul Killer.
Sounds ominous.
Yes, which removes someone's consciousness and puts them in a microchip and biochip. This is their brand new technology. This is the brand new to Arasaka technology. That the main focus is basically immortality. To put someone's consciousness, to put someone's engram to another one's body, to keep that person, that consciousness, always flowing forever. That is their main goal with the relic.
That's very cool.
But they experimented Soul Killer with Johnny, and so they killed him by putting his engram on a biochip.
So did he volunteer?
No, because he got captured.
Oh, so they just used him as like a live test subject?
Yeah.
Whoa. Intense.
Thank you, Keanu Reeves. Very cool.
That is a lot of intense story in this game, and I didn't expect the storyline to be so intense. And as we've seen, the music reflects that a lot in terms of sort of the bands, the lyrics, and sort of the general vibe.
I completely agree with you. I wasn't expecting this game to be as in deep of story, and I believe to be a story-wise, an absolute masterpiece.
I really need to play this game now.
Yes. So as we've seen here, the music is something extremely crucial to make a good game, because again, not only it creates a vibe, it accentuates the feeling of what's happening at the moment.
Of course.
To me, that is one of the most important things. World building and story writing.
Yes.
Oh, and also punk rock. I love it. Yes.
Punk rock.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go, punk rock. Thank you for listening to this episode of my podcast Soundtrack Talk about Cyberpunk. You can find Soundtrack Talk on Spotify, YouTube, I don't know, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Also at Soundtrack Talk on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you for listening. My name is Jade.
And my name was John.
And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Stream the other episodes, please.
Thank you.